Hi guys, today we'll read part 2 of this book. Louis Bernal's Shady Classics, The Secret Garden, and Other Stories. Today we will read Chapter 5 of the book Little Women. Chapter 5, Shocking News. When Laurie went on outside with the March girls, he often brought his tutor along, John Brooke. John Brooke was a thoughtful man with friendly brown eyes and a gentle presence. Have you seen how Brooke looks? Looks at Meg? Laurie asked Joe one afternoon. Meg wouldn't dream of falling in love with him, snapped Joe. She tried furtively, and the man, come on, let's go to the post office. I want to see if there's a new story and magazine out. There Laurie and Joe brought it home and flung herself down to read, as if she were grubbing it up. Read it aloud, argued Meg. We haven't heard a new story for ages. Brilliant! Was that a general opinion when Joe finished? Who wrote it? Asked Emmy, with an odd mix of solemn and excitement in her voice. Joe replied, Your sister. Beth flung her arms around Joe. Oh, you're so clever. The magazine editor paid for me this one, and he's asked me for more stories. I'll be able to help us all. Miss March gazed at Joe fondly. Your father would be so proud, she said. A sharp ring of door interrupted them. It was the telegraph boy, bringing a telegram with a stack of instruction. Miss March, your husband is very ill. Come at once. Dr. Hale, Washington Hospital. Instantly the whole world seemed to change as the happy atmosphere collapsed around them. Miss March rose shakily. To start packing. Laurie and Joe rushed from the house. Beth hugged her cat tight, while Emmy simply stood still as a statue. Laurie returned with John Brooke. Would your mother like me to escort her? He asked. Meg, it's a difficult journey and that makes harder for a woman to travel alone. Meg was full of gratitude. That's so kind of you, John. Grandfather's son sent these to help the invalid, said Laurie, squeezing some bottles of Rent into her mother's dressing gown, bandages, and blankets. Joe fastened her bonnet tight and under her mother. Aunt March saw she go far. Aunt March said this, said her father. Stupid to go when she was so old. She knew no good would come of. He was so old. She knew no good will come of it. She hoped. That's you take her advantage next time. Miss March tightened her lips, and Joe addressed that she was trying to keep her temper, but her mother only said, "Take your bonnet, Joe. Take off your bonnet, Joe." Joe Joe pulled it off, and a cry of rose from her family. Her beautiful long chestnut hair had been cut as short as a boy's. "What have you done?" gasped Emmy. "I sold it," Joe said proudly. I saw tails of hair for sale in the barber's window, so I asked him to cut mine off to get more money for father." Miss March was overwhelmed. "Oh, Joe, you shouldn't have. Nonsense. I will do my brains good to have a mop taken off. Besides, it'll be boyish and easy to keep tidy." Emmy's fingers had wriglets in her, and she saw you, she asked. "She doesn't look like Joe anymore, but I love her for it," Biff said softly. Chapter 6. Beth. Miss March left for Washington at once. A week later, they heard from Mr. Brooke and that father was recovered. The news made everyone feel happier. Meg and Joe worked hard at their jobs. Beth and Amy cleaned the house, and they shared the cooking. But one by one, they slipped back into their old ways. Meg spent hours reading John Brooks' letters. Jo curled up with her writing, and Emmy went back to sketching. Only Beth faithfully carried out their mother's duties, taking food to families in the poorest part of the town. One of the afternoon, she was drenched in a downpour of water and sleet. When she got from home, the fire was out and she couldn't get warm. A few days later, Biff started shivering. She thought she never stopped. At the same time, she was feeling hot. Jo found her looking in the medicine cupboard. Don't feel well," Beth mugged, going to press the Bavarian head against the cold window pane. Jo felt forever hurt. She was horrified. Beth, you're feverish. We must get the doctor." When the doctor came, he looked serious. When the doctor came, He looked serious. "The child has scarlet fever," he announced, "and send her straight to bed." Beth grew worse and worse. Amy was sent to stay with Aunt March to keep her out of the way, and Meg continued to work. Through both of them longed to come home. Jo spent all her time nursing her sister. Beth never complained, sometimes when the fever was very bad, she didn't seem to recognize Jo and would cry out for their mother. Snow fell. It laid drafts around the garden, and white as Beth's face was during the restless and anxious hours in Beth's room. Jo realized how much she loved her. Beth's shyness meant she was the quietest of their sisters, but kindest and gentlest made her all more precious, and of them she had companions and accepted options and accepted Beth. Meg wanted to marry Jo. Jo was determined to be an author, and Amy dreamed of being an artist. Beth wanted to make people happy. One day, Laurie caught Jo having a private cry. I wish I didn't have a heart. It aches. It aches so," she sobbed. Laurie's eyes gave up hope. That won't help, Beth. I've sent a telegram for your mother," he added. "I think she should come home." Their mother came as soon as the brightest of courage shining from her. That night, Beth's fever broke. The doctor confirmed it. She's still weak, he said, "but I think she'll pull through it." Chapter 7: Endings and Beginnings. Like sunshine after storm, several peaceful weeks followed in Washington. Mr. March was getting stronger every day. Beth was soon well enough to come downstairs and lie on the study sofa. Christmas Day dawned mild and sunny. Laurie ran in out of the presents. Jo made ridiculous speeches as she protested each one. "I'm so full of happiness that if only Father were here, I couldn't hold on more drops," sighed Beth. "So am I," agreed Jo, gloating over one of her presents, a brand new novel. "And me," echoed Amy, looking with delicate, firm faint from her mother. I know, I am," said Meg, admiring the silver fold, admiring the silver folds of her silk dress gifted from Mr. Lawrence. Laurie, admiring silver folds of her first silk dress given from old Mr. Lawrence. Laurie looked excited. He could hardly contain himself. Here's another present for the March family, he cried. And we'll read this. And we'll read the ending, I think, next time. Hope you liked how I was reading. Bye!